clearance out there. I guess the question really is, this might not be I sort of feel sorry for her. She
they said she had been in that morning, but out on Thursday.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the accident reconstruction is proof.
Griffin, I don't really know her.
Just an expert opinion.
It's an expert opinion. That's what it is an opinion. But if she had stopped at the stop bar, which was on the ground,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners regular scheduled meeting, May 22nd. We're going to begin by having Mr. Truman Tinsley lead us in the pledge of the flag and then follow with me with the invocation. If you'll please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in prayer. Father, we're here today to ask for your blessings and guidance in the performance of our duties as elected officials. We pray for strength, love, knowledge, and understanding. Help us to recognize and solve the problems that are presented. Make our solutions fair and just to the best interest of everyone. Help us to overcome our shortcomings and keep us united as a team to work for the betterment of the city and its people. We pray in your name. Amen. Thank you. First item is to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any adjustments or are we looking good?
Looking good.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So approved.
Mr. Brock with the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tinsley. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Under presentations and delegations, we are proud tonight to present a proclamation declaring Griffin to be a Purple Heart City, which will be accepted by the local chapter of the Military Order of Purple Heart and the Griffin Spalding Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Committee. So, Ms. O'Connor, are you making a statement on this or anything before we present the proclamation?
Well, Chairman, I hadn't planned on it, but I will.
We were asked after the GMA convention last year what it entailed to become a Purple Heart City, and although there wasn't much that we actually had to do physically or legally, it's been an honor to work with Mr. Gordon, who is here as the adjutant from the local Purple Heart chapter, as well as Mr. Stapleton, who is here for the Military Affairs Committee, in order to be able to honor all of these people that are Purple Heart recipients here in our community. I think it shows that we're a proud veteran community, and I'm glad to be able to officially be a Purple Heart City.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor.
Yes, sir.
And at this time, would those like to come forward, and Mr. Brock will present a proclamation. So our Purple Heart veterans, if you'd like to come up front, you're more than welcome. Mr. Stapleton.
Come on, y'all, don't make me do
Purple
that.
Heart veterans. Come on up, folks. It's your time.
Come on up.
You served us proudly.
Gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. We salute you. We're proud of you. And we thank you for what you've done with the Purple Heart program. And boy, it's just an honor for me to be here to present this. Proclamation of Purple Heart City. Whereas the people of the city of Griffin have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served the country and this community in the armed forces, and recognize that their sacrifices have been vital in maintaining freedoms and quality of life that we all enjoy. And whereas the city supports the military veteran population, realizing the veterans have paid their high price of freedom by leaving their families and communities and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration and is present used and was initially created by the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. It was the first American Service Award and decoration made available to the common soldier, and is specifically awarded to the members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States. Whereas the mission of the military and order of the Purple Heart is to foster an environment of goodwill among combat wounded veteran members and their families, and promote patriotism, support legislative initiatives, and most importantly, to ensure we never forget. And whereas many citizens of this community have earned the Purple Heart Medal, constructed of Signatory Monitorious Act of Essential Services, therefore the City of Griffin designates May the 22nd, 2018 as the day to remember and recognize local veterans who are participants of the Purple Heart Medal. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the Board of Commissioners proclaims Griffin, Georgia to be a Purple Heart City, honoring the service and sacrifice of our nation's men and women in uniform who were wounded and killed by the enemy while serving to protect our freedoms. We encourage our citizens to show their appreciation, to acknowledge the courage and these medal recipients, and to show them the honor and support they have earned. We hereby declare the copy of the proclamation be spread among the minutes and proceedings of this board, reflecting the seal of the City of Griffin, affixed on the 22nd day of May, in the day of our Lord, in 2018. Signed by Douglas Holberg, Chairman, Mayor, and Kenny Smith, City Manager.
There's the sign behind you. The sign y'all want to
Have everyone gather around.
Come on.
Not only is William the best county manager in Georgia, he's one of the better photographers too.
Would someone like to make a comment or two, or two?
Sir, why don't you go on top of the microphone right there?
Microphone, if you don't mind.
Yeah. That's about right.
Let me just say, we are always excited when we get another Purple Heart city or county or baseball, whatever. We want to do it, and we appreciate what you do for us. And I heard about it, and I said, well, I'll just cancel what I'm doing so I can come down there. You know, I don't live that far. I live in Stockbridge. So I just took off and came down here. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. It's yours.
That's the.
That'll go up on the city limit sign.
Okay.
Mayor Holberg.
Well, we appreciate y'all's sacrifice to our country. There's many great men in here that helped raise me, from Tommy Lee to Philip Smith to Jim King to Bob Stapleton. And, you know, as a young person growing up, just post-Vietnam time, these men and folks that gave for this country, I've always had just a great respect. And as I mentioned a few of you earlier, our community has over 175 plaques throughout our downtown that celebrates the sacrifice of the soldiers that gave their life since World War I to Griffin and Spalding County. We'll have our Memorial Day celebration coming up on Monday, and on Wednesday the Kiwanis Club will be putting flags up in our downtown just to celebrate how great America is. And y'all are great Americans, and we appreciate your service. God bless y'all.
Raising him wasn't all that easy either. If you don't believe me, ask his dad.
Thank you, Major Stapleton. All right, moving to item 2. Recognize Will Stevens, Operation Manager with the Griffin Spalding County Airport, as the April 2018 Strongest Link Award recipient. Robert Mull, Airport Director, will address. Good evening, Robert.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome.
Thank y'all for having us. I'd like to introduce you to, for those of you who are new, this is Will Stevens. He's our operations manager. I'm not going to go through and read the nomination form. Y'all have that in front of you. So I'll just go ahead and hit the highlights. I nominated Will for Strongest Link. As you have read in the write-up, the airport underwent our biannual fuel system and fuel delivery system inspection. The airport received a 0 deficiency rating. This basically is an A+ on our fuel quality and our fuel records and all the stuff that helps keep our traveling public entering the National Air Transportation System moving. This is the direct result of this man standing here next to me. My commitment and philosophy has been to safety for the people that use our airport. Navigational aids, lights, markings are very important, but at the top of this list is the fuel quality. And Will has taken this mode of operating to heart. His dedication to this effort is extraordinary. Will performs daily checks, weekly checks, monthly checks. The daily checks involve quality sampling from all the tanks. They're not little samples, they're big, they're gallons and gallons of samples. And I will tell you that every time I do it, I inevitably get it on me. So if you come to the airport and I smell like fuel, it's because I've done the test and I'm not as proficient at it as when Will does it. He checks for clarity, large particulates, water, and if any of this stuff gets into an aircraft engine, like I wrote in the write-up, you can't just pull a plane over and get out and check why the engine is knocking or smoking or something like that. You got to find a place to get down. So safety and fuel quality go hand in hand. Weekly systems, he ensures the pump systems are inspected and operating properly, hoses are checked, grounding cables are secure, clamps are working, duct bills are present, and we hate duct bills. All the pilots hate the duct bills, but they say we got to have them on. All the screens are clear, everything is tight, clear, clean and clear. Each month, Will uses a testing kit called a millipore test to check the fuels for small microscopic particulates. All those functions, tests, and inspections are recorded record in our maintenance logs, which he has been keeping for the past 11 years. All this while maintaining other equipment, which is old. Our motto out there is duct tape is our best friend. And yes, this all sounds dull, especially the folks who don't know what we do out there. It's done in all weather conditions. It's time-consuming. It's repetitive. It is not fun. It requires an attention to detail. It requires discipline, and it requires an understanding that if you do not take it seriously, or if you say I'm tired, or it's raining, or it's hot that day, or in Will's case, he hates it when it's cold. This is one, and I'll just skip it. This is the attitude that may mean somebody gets hurt or worse. So Will takes it seriously, I take it seriously, and with that, it has paid off in our inspection. And so this month, I'm presenting Will Smith as our strongest link in the chain. Will Stevens, not Will Smith. Thank you. If you want to say anything. Will Smith. Oh, and then you got to wear this every day for the month.
Yeah. My neck is real sore.
There you go. Both of us? Okay.
Will, thank you so much for your service to our community, and we look forward to many more years and look forward to seeing you hopefully at the new airport in 2022.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Robert, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Moving into review financial reports for March 2018, the Chief Financial Officer, Marcus Schwab, will address. Good evening, Marcus.
All right. Good evening. Traditionally, we'll look at the cash balance report. Any questions on that item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The local option sales tax report, SPLOST. Any questions on either of those? We're about 3/4 of the way into the year. So these are for March. And any questions on the interim statements, revenues and expenditures?
Yes, sir. Here, that looks pretty boring, as Mr. Morrow would used to say.
All right, and then the last item that's included, we try to do this quarterly, and that's a estimate of where we're going to be at year end for the general fund as far as revenues are concerned. As you can see in the report, we show a couple columns. One's the budget, and one is a rolling 12-month. So there's a full year presented at that time, so it's April to March, and then an estimate of where we think we're going to be at the end of the year. As you can see, it's very thin. There's not much room for mistakes in the general fund. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Marcus. Have a great day. Great job with the budget and the presentation this morning.
Appreciate it.
This time we'll open the floor for citizens' comment. The chairperson opens the floor for comments from the audience. Comments should relate to a specific agenda item not listed on the agenda for a public hearing or to concern within the jurisdiction of the city. Commission meetings serve the purpose of conducting city business and are not a forum for the unlimited expression of opinion. The chairperson reserves the right to limit comments to matters germane to city business and may refer speakers to the city manager or other staff for resolution. Is there anybody on my left side that would like to come before the board to make a comment or any statements? Anybody on my left? Is there anybody on my right side? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the minutes.
Kim Williams, 502 South 6th Street. I was wondering if you guys can broadcast and publish like you do for the commission meetings, your morning meetings, which are even more difficult for especially working adults to attend, so that we could at least be informed about what occurs at those morning get-togethers.
Workshops?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see what we get those.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thanks, Kim.
Is there anybody else on the right side that would like to come before the board? Okay. Thank you. Moving into the consent agenda, we have items 5 through 12. Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Thank you. Moving to public hearing. Public hearings are conducted to allow public comment on specific advertised issues such as rezoning, ordinances, policy development, operating budgets, and other legislative actions to be considered by the Commission. Item 4 is to receive comments regarding the proposed budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018, ending June 30th, 2019. Kenny Smith will address. City Manager.
Yes, sir. We duly advertised the budget. We've had copies on file in my office. We've had copies on the internet along with the budget review, synopsis, and PowerPoint presentation that we presented at the workshop this morning. So everything is in order with the budget. It is balanced with no taxes or fee increases. And we'll entertain any questions.
Okay.
Plan on adopting the budget on June the 12th after a second public hearing that night as well.
Okay. So this is the first of 2 public hearings on the next year's budget. Does the board have any other questions or comments? Okay. Anybody on my left would like to come before the board and ask any questions or comments? Is there anybody on my right side that would like to come talk about the budget? Thank you very much. Moving back to consent agenda again, we have items 5 through 12 to take as a whole. If there's no objection, what is the pleasure of the board?
I move that the consent agenda be approved. Mr. Documented.
Mr. Tinsley with a motion, second by Ms. Ward. Is there any other questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. All like sign. 5-0. Moving into the regular agenda, item 13. Consider lifting from the table and consider a request to amend the Unified Development Code of the City of Griffin, Article 6, Site Design and Architectural Standards, Section 606, Regulations of Fences, to promote the general health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the city by regulating the height, location, design, construction, and maintenance of fences within the City of Griffin. Tucson Kirk, Director of Planning and Development, will address. Do we have a motion to lift from the table?
Motion to lift it from the table.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Murray. All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Good evening, Mr. Kirk.
Good evening. So before we brought this before the board, there were some modifications that needed to be completed. So if you look under C2, General Standards Residential, we did include the height of the fence not to exceed 8 feet in the rear yard to accommodate the recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Murray,
I think that suffices. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the ordinance change as presented with this change?
So motion.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Murray with a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Thanks.
Item 14 is consider a resolution amending the City of Griffin 401A plan originally adopted effective October 31, 2010 and restated effective July 1, 2013 as amended by restating the plan and deleting plan section 4.01 of Article 4 in its entirety and adding amendment number 1 effective July 1, 2018. Good evening.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Neville.
Good evening.
I don't get to see you guys very often up here.
No, sir.
I don't really think there's much discussion on the resolution. It's just making it official that we are eliminating the 401A match and changing everything to match that.
All right. What's the pleasure of the board? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward, second. Second. Mr. Tinsley with a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Neville.
Yes, sir.
Item 15 is consider adding Veterans Day as an officially recognized annual city holiday. Human Resources Director Miles Neville will address.
Wow, I'm still here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's been some discussion about potentially adding Veterans Day because of the importance of this to our veterans, and we saw it today. So what I did was went out and tried to, Rick, Greg, and I tried to survey about 35 cities and counties. We got responses from 24, and we're almost split 50-50. So I just want to let you guys know that about half the cities and counties that we surveyed have it, and about half the counties and cities don't.
And of course, this is a great employee motivator as well.
Sure can't hurt.
So do we have a motion to approve this recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Mrs. Tinsley with a motion, Mrs. Ward with a second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. All against? 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Item 16, consider the purchase of a courtware visual court management system in the amount of $45,000 from municipal court from the Court Technology Fund and amend the City of Griffin's fiscal 2017-18 operating and capital budget accordingly. Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Murray with a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, signal by raising hand. 5-0. Item 17, consider amendment to power sales contract between the Municipal Electric Authority of Georgia and the City of Griffin. Electric Department Dan Thompson is available to address.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Tinsley with a second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, signal by raising hand. 5-0. Item 18, consider appointing one delegate and one alternate representing the City of Griffin at annual meeting and board election on Tuesday, July 10th. And I'd like to make a recommendation of myself serving as the delegate and Dan Thompson as the alternate.
Motion to approve.
So we have a
Second.
motion by Ms. Ward, a second by Mrs. Murray. Any questions or comments? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Moving to item 19, appoint a voting delegate from the Board of Commissioners to the GMA annual business meeting on Sunday, June 24, 2018 at 3:15 p.m. in Savannah. And again, I can represent the city with y'all's endorsement.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Tinsley with a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Item 20, consider an encroachment agreement with the Griffin Spalding County Hospital Authority for its building located at 409 West Solomon Street, the Hope Health Clinic, which is shown on the attached survey as encroaching 0.1 foot into the public right-of-way of West Solomon Street, and authorize Chairman Secretary to execute, test, to seal appropriate documents. City Attorney will address.
The hospital authority came to me. They're in the process of selling the building that was originally built as Buckles Hardware, now the Hope Health Clinic, to a company called Southside Medical, which is a non-profit medical organization that operates the Hope Health Clinic and has been leasing that building. The Southside Medical's attorneys are doing the closing, and they did what's called an ALTA survey, which today is some of the most sophisticated surveying, technical equipment they can use. And based on that survey, they show that there is this very slight encroachment. Well, if it actually does encroach, it's been there since that building was built back probably 60 years ago. And we've never had any notice it was an encroachment. But in order to get title insurance today, they have to have a boundary agreement, basically, which you will basically say, I'm not going to sue you at some future time to make you move the encroaching or offending portion of the building. So that's all it really amounts to.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, sir.
Mr. Brock with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ward. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, signal by raising your hand. 5-0. Item 21, consider approval of a loan agreement and promissory note to borrow the amount not to exceed $8 million for the Clean Water State Revolving Fund as administered by the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority for improvements at Shoal Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant. Authorize the chairperson to execute loan documents and secretary to attest chairperson's signature and seal. Pleasure of the board. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Murray with a motion.
Second.
Ms. Ward with a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please signal by raising your hand. All against? 5-0. That's our regular agenda, so we're moving into city manager report.
Thursday morning at 8 o'clock at the Senior Center. Don't forget the Griffin Spalding Business and Tourism Association, in conjunction with the Main Street program, will have a work session starting at 8 a.m. to talk about tourism, proper tourism expenditures and projects. Don't forget our offices will be closed on Monday for Memorial Day holiday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and good job this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Whalen?
I got one brief matter I need to bring to your attention, and Kenny mentioned it this morning. This year, the General Assembly did pass what's been referred to as the brunch bill. What it would do is add the hours on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 12:30. Current law is from 12:30 to 11:30, I believe it is, that was passed under a 2011 law. The way the legislation was drafted, it requires you to first adopt an ordinance saying that restaurants who have to meet the 51% food rule, and hotels who derive at least 50% of their income from the sale of or the rental of hotel lodging, can sell on Sundays between the hours of 11 a.m. and 12:30. That ordinance is only effective upon approval at a referendum that's then called and held. The only opportunity to do that this year because of the statewide general election is in conjunction with the November 6th election. But the timing of this requires that we have to have the ordinance adopted by the second week in July in order to get it onto the ballot. The ballots all have to be prepared, proofed, and whatnot. So because of the fact that you're not meeting a second time in June, you're not meeting the first time in July, somewhere in between, if we put an ordinance on the first meeting in June, you're going to have to call a second reading, a meeting for a second reading at some point, probably the end of June or the early part of July.
Can you do a morning, evening?
No, I think you'd have to do two separate dates.
Okay, two separate dates. Okay. So if you'll get with Mr. Smith and let's...
Now, Kenny did tell you he did not put money in the proposed budget for this.
But if there's a referendum, it's the same time there's a general election, so the cost shouldn't be too significant.
We just have to pay a portion based on our elections contract. So if we have to make a budget amendment or what, first of all, you need to decide if that's something that you want to bring before the people to vote on. All you're doing is expanding the alcohol hours like an hour and a half on Sunday morning. So you need to decide if that's something that you want to go forward with first.
Several of your surrounding counties are doing this already, from what I've been told.
It's an economic development.
And the next opportunity to vote will be in March of next year.
I don't have an issue. Anybody else?
I don't have an issue with it.
Mr. Brock?
I think we need to do it.
So the consensus is move forward. We'll get it on the schedule.
We'll have an ordinance ready for first reading at next meeting.
Okay, that'd be fine. Okay, anything else, Mr. Whalen?
That's all.
Ms. Murray?
Good to see everyone again tonight. Thank you. Thank you for the budget and everyone in the room that worked on that. That's a humongous document, and a lot of work went into that, and I appreciate everybody's hard work. And may the best candidate win tonight. Hope you all got to exercise your right to vote. And
still have 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes. And for anyone in the room that may have a graduating senior, congratulations. Or anyone advancing to middle school or even graduation from kindergarten. I've been sitting at schools all day long, and what kids do today is definitely the work of their parents, I'm convinced, because they know things I couldn't imagine. But anyway, I just wanted to congratulate everybody in the room if you have a youngster or graduating senior. And another thing, it's about to be summer break, so you all know I'm a safety person. Just you're going to have kids all over our community. Just take heed and be cautious to kids on bikes and foot traffic. They're going to be everywhere, and we want to be incident-free, protect our kids and streets. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Brock?
No comment, sir.
Mr. Tinsley?
I'd just like to thank those veterans that were here tonight, those folks that served our country, ones that came here to receive the Purple Heart proclamation. It means a lot to me. I have a brother who's a recipient of Purple Heart. He also suffers from Parkinson's Parkinson's pretty severely due to exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam. So this, even though I'm not a veteran myself, well, I'm a veteran in Delta Airlines for 44 years, but I didn't serve the country. But it means a lot to me, and I just appreciate you guys coming down here. Thank you very much.
Ms. Ward. I'll make this real quick. I know you gotta go.
You're fine.
I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. with the junior deputies a week before last. It was an adventure, to say the least. It was really interesting, and I want to commend the Sheriff Department for continuing to help to sponsor the trip and acknowledge all of the people, the chaperones that go. This was about 250 or more 11 and 12-year-olds, and oh my God! Like I said, it was interesting to say the least. And I also want to commend our Fire Marshal Mike Thompson, who was on the bus with me, bus 3, with 39 girls. So he really had his hands full, and he was magnificent with them. He had a lot more patience with them than I did. But anyway, like I said, it was interesting. There was a lot of things going on. Some of the children probably will never get to go back to D.C. or probably will never get to take a trip outside of this local area. And it was a week full of stuff. It was hurry up to wait. They saw a lot of things. I think for the most part, they all enjoyed it. But I was so happy to come back home.
Just a reminder, June Jam is coming up June 2nd. Tables are $125 a person. There won't be as many as we've had in the past, but that's going to be an all-day event. Exchange Club Cornell tournaments. It's in the afternoon, music in the evening, just a great community block party, so it's exciting times happening. And I'm one of those. I cried at Marcia's baccalaureate church service last night, and so I'm headed over to the honors night. But Griffin High graduates are this Friday night, so go Bears, and Spalding High is Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and all the other private schools around. It's an exciting time. Folks always give our youth the hard time of not being able to step up, but our youth in this community and all around are just amazing people, and they're going to do great things. So to staff, great job on the budget, and until next time, happy Memorial Day. We'll see y'all next month. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Ward with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Murray with a second. All in favor, please rise. Good job, guys and gals.
Congratulations on all. Sad.
I cried. Pam like handed me a tissue. She's like going, come on, God. Okay, I'll see y'all in the morning. Teresa, Drew, Simon.